Hello everybody, news at 10:30.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Technical difficulties, but we're here and we've got a conclusive. That poses a lot of questions, that doesn't really make sense. Review of all the games yesterday. We've got so many nice little clips of football fans who know what they're talking about because they go to the games week in, week out. We'll be hearing from Robbie as he chatted to Nikki from Redmen TV. We'll be talking to Everton and Baz and Chris as well. Let's go straight into the back pages and only 3 to show you this morning because it's generally the same thing and it's all about Man City. 15 games on the trot now. It's difficult. It's almost difficult to talk about Man City because, well, I mean, what are you supposed to say apart from the fact that they are fantastic?
You know, Pep Guardiola now has the longest winning streak in history in the Premier League, Bundesliga and La Liga. Wow. Every league he's played in, he's created this winning streak.
That's madness.
You can't knock City last night again, 4-0. Swansea, yes, bottom of the league, but still comfortable win for City.
Yeah, Man City were completely irresistible, and David Silva was the main man, and they sort of highlighted him on Match of the Day. And what I haven't watched every single game, and so that's what I want to do in this show today is kind of ask questions to you guys. If you have watched the whole game, were Swansea, but did they make any effort to try and win the game? And there's going to be a bit of a theme in the show as well today. That there are so many teams that are parking the bus. Is that a bit of a problem in terms of making games interesting? Moving on to just another interesting story, and we'll talk about Newcastle and the struggles they're having, but this is interesting. Daily Mail, back page, Benitez Bonanza, Rafa ready for a spree as takeover draws near. So this article is suggesting that Amanda Staveley is moving closer to buying the club, and Mike Ashley is going to take a £300 million offer that she's sort of moving up towards, and that Benitez is going to have a lot of money to spend. The amount is apparently about 30 million. The question I have to Newcastle fans is that enough? Newcastle haven't won a game in 16.
16? Really?
It's not good. I think it might be one win in 16.
Well, whatever it is, they're not doing very well at the moment. Benitez obviously didn't get the money in the summer, but 30 million... Well, that would sign you in the current market. It would get you a few good players, but they need a goal scorer.
Well, those are the 2 players that they're going for. Apparently, Danny Ings and Luke Shaw.
How does Danny Ings and Luke Shaw solve your goal-scoring problems?
I like Danny Ings. I think he's got good movement. He's obviously had a really difficult time, and he was able to get a move from Burnley to Liverpool. So he must be a decent player to get the move, for them to want him. He's been really, really unlucky, and I think even if as a loan move, that would be a great one for Newcastle. Let's have a look at the fixtures then before we hear from the different fans from the Ball Street Network. And let's kick off with Newcastle versus Everton. Everton getting another win.
Sam Allardyce, what a manager.
He has done it. He has turned it around. And Baz, who I wonder if Baz was excited by Sam Allardyce, or like a lot of Everton fans, they got to a point where they were like, let's just get a safe pair of hands in. But that's exactly what Sam Allardyce has done.
More than a safe pair of hands so far.
And from reports, it suggests that it wasn't the best performance, but Sam Allardyce has got them doing what they do best, as Baz says in this clip right now.
Every one of them done the job, and the biggest indication for me with Sam Allardyce is everybody just seems to be clear in what they're doing, and good players eventually it'll come to the fore. If you simplify the jobs of players and say kick that there, do that, and you drill them, which he's done, the quality takes over. And in the second half there was a much more controlled display from Everton. Sigurdsson probably should have done a little bit better. Lennon should have done better after some good movement. And we limited Newcastle to shots from far out, really. There was nothing in close of any note. You know, if they got in, we made sure we got a block in. And you know, we saw the game out, and it's another clean sheet for Sam Allardyce. 1 goal conceded in the 5 games that he's been in and around the club.
He does what it says on the tin, doesn't he, Sam Allardyce?
The Ron Seal manager.
I tell you what he does brilliantly with a team that's low on confidence is exactly what Baz was saying there, is that as a defence, so this was something that Allardyce said in his post-match interview, that he was baffled that they were conceding the amount of goals that they were before he turned up.
Yeah.
But the fact is, it takes away, what Allardyce does is he takes away thought for a defence. Don't think about it. You don't have. Like, if you watch that Liverpool game, they didn't have to go right. Okay, I need to take a touch and then find a man.
Just kick it.
Get rid. Just get rid of it, and we'll start from that. We'll start with stopping conceding goals, which is exactly what they've done with some great clean sheets, and then we'll go from there. And in Wayne Rooney, you're seeing that he will get you a goal. He came alive in the box. It was a great cross. Aaron Lennon winning a header, which is odd in itself. Newcastle fans will be fuming about that. But then Wayne Rooney is the first one to be alive, to get
credit to Wayne Rooney as well. Like he's been scoring a few goals now, and I think that's 9 goals he's got this season for Everton.
Same as Lukaku.
Oh, you were just ready with that one.
And I said at the start of the season, and I'd gone quiet on it, but I said he could get 20 goals this season. So
no, I said he could get 20 as well.
Did you?
I did.
You back me on that.
I did back
okay. Well, let me know in the comments. What do you think about Wayne Rooney? Is he Kevin Nolan 2.0 to Sam Allardyce, and can he get 20 goals this season? Let us know your thoughts. Going back to yesterday's games, Southampton versus Leicester City. Leicester were, from the highlights at least, back to their best. Great counter-attacking. Okazaki was superb. Riyad Mahrez,
again,
who it seems pretty clear that he's woken up in the last month and a half, and he's dyed his hair bleach blonde. And I remember as soon as I saw that, and this is maybe a conspiracy theory, but I thought he's trying to get noticed here. He was desperate to go in August. He was so desperate to go, and I think with January on its way,
you think he's hankering for a move?
I think you can see that he's someone that if he's in the mood, he's devastating, and you've seen that. I think 4 of his last 5 goals have been from outside the box. He's scoring screamers for fun. He's a great player, and a player that Arsenal have looked at before. Maybe they'll have another look at it.
Interesting one then. Question for Arsenal fans: would you let Ozil go in January if it meant you got 30-40 million for him instead of losing him for free in the summer, and bring Riyad Mahrez in? Would that be a like-for-like replacement?
I think, well, look, we're going to get onto West Ham and Arsenal, but definitely a problem, it seems, for Arsenal, for a lot of the top teams, is being able to break down a team. Now, Mahrez obviously plays for a team that counter-attacks, but he has a great ability to beat a player one-on-one. And in tight areas. So it would be a great move, and it'd be someone different for Arsenal, a dribbler. Which they don't really have.
That's a good point.
Swansea versus Man City. We showed you on the back pages. Man City.
Let's move on.
Yeah, I mean they're flying, aren't they? There's not much more to say. It'd be interesting to see how long Clement lasts. I mean, he can't be judged on that game. Man City are too good. But
Spurs Man City at the weekend though, and we know that Pochettino. He said it. We're going to the Etihad to win. So either Spurs are going to get pumped, I think, or
Man City could finally
get that draw.
Right.
They probably won't lose.
Liverpool versus West Brom. 2 desperately disappointing results for Liverpool fans. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. The Fab Four, as it's now become a thing, were back in the side, but it didn't seem to make a difference. This is what Chris said about the game.
That Liverpool side went out today and wanted to win the game. Yes, first half we didn't play quick enough football. Yes, it wasn't fluid enough. Yes, it was a little bit pedestrian stuff. But second half we came out and we showed that we wanted to win that game of football, which is more than what West Bromwich Albion wanted to do.
Understandably disappointed. That's 2 games where they just haven't been able to break down teams. So much possession. But here's a question. It kind of popped in my head on the train into work today. Do we need to do something here in the Premier League? There's so many teams parking the bus, and it's ruining games of football. Man United versus Arsenal the other week. That was a cracking game of football because you had 2 teams going for it.
Yeah.
What you're seeing time and again now with all the teams that are in the sort of bottom half, they go and they park the bus. Do we need, this is a weird theory, I don't know if it'll work, let me know if you think this could work or not. 4 points for a win, 1 point for a draw.
That's the worst theory ever. Right?
Why?
It is. The 4 points. Imagine how many points Man City would be on right now if they had 4 points per game.
Yeah, but you can claw it back just as quickly.
Look, when it comes to being pissed off with teams parking the bus, there are a lot of teams, and this is a consequence of TV money. This is a consequence of the money in football. The gap is becoming so big that certain teams lower down the tables have to do what they can do to try and earn points in this game. If West Brom
I respect that.
It's like it's why I was annoyed that Pep Guardiola was pissed off at Nathan Redmond at the Etihad, because Southampton nearly got a draw against City, and that was because they were playing defensive, they were playing determined and hard to break down. And maybe this is Mourinho making me sympathise with this style of football slightly.
Maybe.
But it's a style of football. It is a certain way that you've got to play football. Play it week in, week out. No, it's fucking terrible. But there's certain games like Liverpool away for West Brom, where that makes sense.
Joseph Cooper, what do you expect the worst teams to do? The gap in quality of players is too great for everyone to attack. There's another good one here. Superfly, you can't fault smaller teams with way smaller budgets to trying to defend and not playing an open game against those wealthier teams. I completely agree. The point is, and this is why it used to be 2 points for a win and 1 point for a draw, and it got changed to 3 points, is because teams went for a draw. This is my point. I want to watch football and enjoy it and see two teams have a go. It might lead to ridiculous results, but at least you'll have two teams going for it. I think there are moments where you can enjoy that kind of that stoicism of defending deep. But what I'm watching with a lot of games now, it's boring. It's getting boring to watch for me. It'd be interesting if anyone agrees with me, but maybe not.
Well, Guna Vicarian, final comment there, saying it's not parking the bus. Some choose attacking football, some choose defensive. It's the variety of tactics which I admire. Otherwise, football would be boring, maybe similar. Maybe that's the point he's getting across.
But for me, it's like, the one thing I would say is, in terms of entertainment, the Rocky films wouldn't have been as good if Rocky was just sort of like just working the ring. You want two guys going toe to toe, going at it.
Maybe that's
and you're seeing that less and less and less. I'm not having a go at the smaller teams. QPR have had to do it when they're in the Premier League, and I get it. And if you get a point and it doesn't matter, certainly West Ham fans, we're about to talk about them, they'll be delighted with the last two games where they've held out and they've got points. That's what matters. But is there a wider decision that needs to be made to allow teams to give it a go? That's
your problem. Faisal, but you get 0 points for a 0-0. That's the only thing you got to do. You don't have to give 4 points for a win or 1 point for it. Just 0 points for a 0-0.
All or nothing.
Just 0 for all teams.
I think it's an interesting one. That's all. I think it's an interesting talking point. West Ham. Oh, sorry, hang on. Let's get back to. Let me get my picture up. Where are we? Man United versus Bournemouth. Yep. Thoughts from United People's TV?
United were not very good last night. Bournemouth had about 9 shots on target. De Gea arguably man of the match again. But Lukaku scored, Man U scored 1.
Didn't celebrate, did he?
No, it was a very muted set. I think the fallout and the reaction to that City game has clearly affected him. And I do slightly worry about Lukaku's temperament. Yes, right now his performances in the big games haven't been returning goals. I do worry that he's going to let that get to him. Right. Not that I'm having a go at his performances, but I just worry that I'm not sure. But he scored last night, 1-0, 3 points. It was a poor performance, but it was a win on a night where Arsenal and Liverpool both drew against in teams that similar games. We play Bournemouth, they play West Ham and West Brom. They should have won those. Yeah,
I was listening to a podcast. The reporter was suggesting that it was a performance that champions make. You didn't play that well, but you got the win. Yeah. But just Man City are just so far ahead that it doesn't actually.
It's weird though, because United, currently United are on 38 points. Liverpool on 31, Arsenal on 30. Arsenal are 19 points behind Man City.
Incredible.
I mean, we're doing badly, but we're still 7 points ahead of Liverpool, Spurs and Arsenal.
Yeah.
And we're not doing that bad. It just goes to show how far ahead City are.
So let's talk about West Ham versus Arsenal. West Ham, watching West Ham Fan TV, and we're going to show you a couple of clips, it looked as though West Ham had some really good chances. And in the last minute, again, there's a question for Arsenal fans. Koscielny, I watched all the Man United game, I've watched a lot of the Southampton Arsenal game, and I watched the highlights last night. What is going on with this guy? Because in all of those 3 games, he's making mistakes, clear mistakes, silly mistakes. And at the end of the game against West Ham yesterday, he made a bizarre pass where he nearly put them in and they hit the crossbar. West Ham and Nicky on West Ham Fan TV was saying that there's some good moments for them. They had some great chances. I think he's right in that. But again, Arsenal had a lot of possession. Wenger's talking about how they weren't able to break them down. West Ham played with 10 defenders. But for West Ham,
it's another point.
It's another point, but the next 3 games are very important. This is what Nicky and Dom had to say about those next 3 games.
Coming up against the Stokes, West Broms, Newcastle, our next 3 games.
So we need to replicate the form we've shown against City to
Bournemouth as well.
Yeah, we need to replicate that, mate. We've got to be consistent because I've always said it, mate. We're the type of team that will get results from these, and then we can lose our next 3 against Stoke, Newcastle, and Bournemouth. Now Stoke's going to be a fucking hard game, but I'm also confident because they're in a dire run of form.
Yeah.
I think their manager's under a lot of pressure as well. The crowd are going to be on his back. Now, if we can go to Stoke and get a win, I think, well, we're pushing on at the moment as well.
So that is it. For a team that's in mid-table, these tough games are not going to be the true judgment of David Moyes. They've actually still only got 1 win in 10.
But 4 points against Chelsea
Fantastic.
and Arsenal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in dreamland for West Ham, considering where they were a few weeks ago, getting pumped 4-0 by Everton.
Yeah.
That is one hell of a quick turnaround. And I think we're seeing with West Ham and Everton the positive response you can get from sacking a manager.
He slumps his head as he says
because it's annoying, because it's things like this that lead other clubs to sacking them. And they go, look, worked at West Ham and Everton. Go on, we'll do it. And then sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes it does, and that's why people do it, man.
Yeah, I guess there's two. Again, someone was saying earlier about tactics, defensive tactics and attacking tactics. What David Moyes is going to have to do now in those games is have a go, because Stoke City away, that's a great opportunity to go and play football and win that game, not just hang in there. So it'd be interesting to see how they get on. Arsenal, let's do it. Let us know in the comments, where do you think Arsenal are going to end up? Because they're now in 7th, as you said, 19 points off Man City.
19 points, that is so far.
Yeah. If you see,
they're 18 points off bottom.
If you see a title for an article or whatever saying that Wenger doesn't give up on the title, don't click on it, because it's completely taken out of context. I did it, I fell for it. And he was saying that, look, someone's saying, is the title gone? He's saying, look, don't concentrate on the title right now. We just need to go game by game, and Man City are so far away. I'm not going to concentrate on that, but I'm not going to give up either. All the things that you have to say. And of course, it was just spun into that, I'm not giving up on the title. There's a lot of delusion targeted at Wenger, but on that instance, I thought that was unfair.
A few comments coming in straight away.
Yeah.
Joseph Cooper still thinks they'll finish 4th. Neil Moore's 6th. Mo El Gamati 7th. Talibor 6th. And Dark Matter saying 4th. Average there, we'd probably say 5th. But Arsenal, I don't know, they've got a tough task of finishing the top 4 again this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And Robbie was chatting to Nikki from West Ham Fan TV, talking about Alexis Sanchez. Of course, January is so close now. Are those two going to go? This is what Robbie thought.
Alexis he's definitely off. The way he's playing at the moment, he's just a shadow. I remember watching him here last year, the great hat-trick he scored. Shadow of himself, but then I thought West Ham dealt with him really well. They always seem to have like 2 players on him. Yeah. I think they sussed out that he see, the problem with Alexis on the wing is that he never gets to the byline. He cuts in, he tries to do little chip balls. So if you double team him up and you're very disciplined, you can have a lot of joy against him. But yeah, it's very disappointing today. I don't understand why, if we're playing against teams that are going to be very, very negative, which, you know, West Ham were today, why don't we just go 2 up top?
And you can see there, Robbie, frustrated. It feels like even he's now completely on one side. Robbie has always been the man that's sat on the fence. He's never really gone Wenger in or Wenger out, but...
Imagine that fence.
But it seems like Robbie now has made his mind up. And with Arsenal, as I said, 19 points behind City, you can't be surprised about that. The milk has... It looks like it's gone sour. Right. I mean, DT Troopz and Robbie are all on the same wavelength now, and I don't really know what else Arsene Wenger can say to appease fans. I mean, Alexis Sanchez and Ozil, the threat of both players leaving in January, and with Arsenal so far behind, why do Alexis Sanchez and Ozil want to stay? I'm trying not to be too unfair with Arsenal fans. I'm just trying to think from their perspective.
I guess the frustrating thing for us fans as well is a couple of weeks ago you were playing great stuff. Even against Man United, you played great stuff. It's just... Maybe it's just, look, the Premier League's not as easy as people think, maybe. I think you've got to be so good to break down. If you're in that select group that are going to dominate possession of games, you then better be really good, because the other team are going to defend resolutely and you're going to have to find a way to break them down. And what you're seeing again and again, these little chip balls and this sort of lack of fluent passing from Arsenal, whereas other teams have just about got enough. Not all the time, because you see that even with Liverpool and their attacking threat, they've scored less goals this year because teams are so organised. But overall, are there those guys? And the guys that they've got, Lacazette didn't even start because he had a problem with his groin. Sanchez, as Robbie's saying, you know, his head's gone, it seems, and Ozil is not having the best of seasons either. So it's difficult.
Got a comment there from Ajinkia to finish off saying Arsenal can finish 6th and no higher. To be frank, they don't deserve any higher. And suggesting they're good enough for top 4 is insulting the top 5, who are extremely ambitious. Wow. Unlike Arsenal. That is a cutting comment. But I think if you hark back to when Arsenal did win the league last, it was a time when it was like Arsenal and United. It was 2 teams at the top who were really competing against each other. But now, obviously, this is probably a bad example because City are flying high on their own. But there's 5 or 6 teams in there, 6, 7 teams who really are on the same sort of level. Maybe not City at the moment, but it's the Premier League is a lot harder than it was back in the day. And maybe Arsenal haven't adapted. Maybe Wenger hasn't adapted enough in comparison to other. You see fucking Burnley. Burnley are above Arsenal. Sean Dyche doing the thing.
Well, and Burnley, we've been chatting about it the whole time. Did you just say doing the thing?
I did. What's wrong with that? He is. He's proud. He's literally the proudest man in Proudsville.
He is. He really is. But this has been a theme of the entire news at 10 today. Burnley are the best at that defensive way of playing. They let the team have the ball, and they're comfortable in a 0-0. They're comfortable when they're 1-0 up because they're comfortable when they're defending, and they're doing it better than anyone. So that's news at 10 or 10:30 today. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the fan channel roundup, then hit that like button so that we know that.
And then James might actually get sacked because we said yesterday, if we got 100 likes in the live stream, that you would get sacked. We didn't. It went up to 350 though after, so a lot of people wanted you to get fired. A bit harsh. A little bit harsh.
Yeah, 1,000 likes and I'll resign. Go on.
There you go.
15 seconds.
He's giving you that.
Only 260
No, not during the live stream. If you get to 1,000 likes, we'll have to consider it. So we'll be back tomorrow. If it's got 1,000 likes, we'll have to have that conversation, James. You laid the seed, didn't you?
That's backfire. Okay, let's wrap it up then. Don't like the video. Don't like the video. Okay. Let us know your thoughts on your team, how you're getting on, and the players that you need in January, because that might be interesting. We'll see you next time.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, last thing. We've got the One for the Weekend podcast with Steve-O the Madman. And also we put out a video yesterday with Rio Ferdinand, which is it's a really good video. He's talking about the greatest leaders that he played with. You definitely want to check that one out. Just thought it's a final plug.
We'll
see you tomorrow.
Good bit of content.